How's it going? Tighten this mic up. So we're waiting on John, but in the meantime, thought I'd say hi. Give me a second. I believe this is session 14 of Skylight Huddle. If this is your first time visiting, welcome. Let me tell you a little bit about what we do. In front of me here, there's a bunch of synthesizers, guitar pedals. There's a drum machine and a mix board. And the entire idea of this thing is a couple things. One is to kind of document the musical journey I find myself on, to find some kind of, I guess, log, look back on the future, and just kind of see where I've come from or what I've done in terms of my learning. The other thing is to share with people, folks like you at home watching. Maybe you're doing something similar. This is about connecting with other musicians. And then the third part for me is community building. Kind of goes with number 2, but getting to know local musicians that I know. We're heading into the fall. I'll have more free time, and my hope with that free time is to be able to interview few people, on few musician friends of mine, kind of figuring out where they get their passion for music. Questions are gonna be asked. One of them is, what kind of albums do you find yourself gravitating towards? What kind of albums define your music interest? Some other questions I have is like, do you have family that's into music? What was your first instrument? When was the first time you realized you're interested in playing music? So these are the kind of things I want to kind of devolve into as we do this. So, well, I guess to bide time, I'll just jam a little bit. I'm not sure how the sound quality is going to be today. There's like 3 tiers of gain staging. We have the mix board on the table, the silver thing you can see in the corner. That runs into an audio interface, which does a few more processing, a little bit of tone shaping, and also lets me record just an audio version of what we do. And then all that audio gets shipped into my video processing computer via another interface. So those are your 3 stages of gain stage. Oh, I just got confirmation that the audio is fine. That's good. I was being very meticulous about it. Session 13 was a little quiet for my taste, and I wasn't really happy with the way that one turned out. But it is unlucky number 13, so I guess with that, as was mentioned last Wednesday, that's what you get. I'm drinking coffee, Simply Smooth from Folgers. And NASA. That last song, the song you heard before the stream started was one I wrote a while ago about a spacefaring dog named Starboy. It's kind of actually a project I started with John. Maybe we'll talk about that at some point. Hasn't really gone anywhere yet, but I wanted to couple that kind of music with just space videos and pictures. That'd be kind of cool. All right, well, kind of set up for 2 people. But I can grab that start button over here. I'm going to mute this microphone here in a sec. When John gets here, I'll move. This microphone sounds warmer to me. pretty cool. I didn't anticipate this happening, but let me turn this down. So what ended up happening there, if you heard, the neutron here can only play a single note under most circumstances. There is a way to play multiple notes. Call it paraphonic, where you can play, there's two oscillators in here, and typically you can play each one independently, so you get two notes, but you end up sacrificing all the richness of two oscillators playing in unison. It can be used for cool ideas, but point is, usually this app operates most likely as a mono synth, meaning monophonic, meaning it can only play a single note at a time. So, because of that, you have to kind of come up with clever ways to get, more interesting sounding pieces, chords or arpeggiations. One trick is to send a signal here, telling it to play an arpeggiation really fast, and then sending that through a wash of reverb. That allows the single note of each step of the arpeggiation to become smeared across the reverb and giving the impression of a chord. The Ocean's 12, though, has a setting called poly mode, which allows you to take the original source of the note, say in this case a C, passes through the Ocean's 12 here, and you can control two parameters to give additional notes that operate off of different tuning. So if I'm sending a C in here, I can tune one control to another note relative to C, and then the other note relative to C, or the other control I can also tune relative to C, and gives the impression of a chord. So let's see here. Kind of sounds like a trumpet, but all the chording is happening in here, in this Ocean's 12, which I had a zoom in shot for you, but I don't. So you can see I'm tuning it. That's like unison. Let's try to go down a half step here. Make like a seventh. And go up like, if we can get this to go up a fifth using my ears, which is, I don't have the best ears, but it's close, I think. Again, I can't tell because I don't have the best ears. Seems a little bit sharp. All right, let's try that. Yeah, that sounds cool. Yeah, that was cool. Dang, that was a good jam, dude. I think that was like a half-hour jam,
Yeah,
maybe a little more.
got into it a little bit, you know.
I
It's a
think
good thing.
I learned something today.
What's that?
Not anything I can put into words at the moment, but just this. Some of the concepts I was dealing with in the synthesizer was really cool. Like I patch things a little differently. I guess one thing I can tell you, it's hard to tell because the video I have set up today isn't going to show exactly what's going on here, but I patched in the patch bay here. I sent the sample and hold knob, which is here, into the shape knob. But before that, I guess I should say I took the sample and hold and patched it into the attenuator, and from the attenuator I sent it here, so I can kind of control how much sporadicness is happening with the sample and hold. A sample and hold essentially sends a random parameter every however often you decide. Right now mine's going really fast down to the millisecond, but it's going to switch to a random parameter based on the attenuator every time this light blinks here, which I think is just nuts fast. I can't even tell you how fast it is. I mean, you can slow it down to quite an amount, and then the lights move slower wherever you send the signal to. But the shape is going to change based on that. And I realized with that, just that constant movement of shape changing being sent into the delay and into the oceans, and allowing all those different textures to smear over each other and give it all that like just resonance and all that feedback and all that, it created these very lush, beautiful landscapes that I could just kind of manipulate while that runs. I don't have to mess with that. And that then allowed me to mess with the frequency to kind of throw in, hey, I need it to sound a little higher here. And I have the frequency knob set to bandpass filter. So that way it scopes along the frequencies. I'm not getting too high. I'm not getting too low. It's just a nice smooth. It's like, I want a little higher pitch. Well, let's scoop that bandpass up to the higher frequencies. I want a little lower. Let's scoop them down. And that sliding around of that bandpass filter allowed me to create, in the smearing of time with the delay and the reverb, allowed me to create these really lush, I guess you'd say soundscapes that really lend itself to that. And then you driving it home with that beat and constantly changing that feel. That was really good jam, dude. I was into that. There's a moment, I think, or two, I lost myself. Like, I just wasn't sure what was. I think time passed a little quicker than I had realized.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Really good one. Cool. Well, yeah, dude. Thanks for running the drum machine. That was awesome. I could live off that all week.
Yeah, there was some good. I was digging through for a while trying to find the right samples, and once I found them, I was pretty happy.
You found this like bit crush sound. Now, was that a bit crushed kit? Like, was that recorded that way, or did you like run it through a bit crusher?
No, like that same thing. Like if I put some of this back in it.
Gosh, it sounds so awesome.
That's with nothing. That's just the samples. They're actually pretty clean.
Yeah, they are.
But then.
So you set the master effects to go to like a bit crush.
Yeah. Yep. I put it into a bit crush, and then the secret to getting it to sound the way I like it to sound.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what the value really means when you're looking at it. It says sample rate. God only knows what it's doing. But the point is, you'd figure like lower is better, right? And kind of like what you'd expect as you start changing the sample width, the perceived like pitch of the sound changes too. So I was using that to do things like this.
Oh.
Because I can change where that false harmonic is and make you think the pitch is decreasing when it's really not. I'm just increasing the width of the samples.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah.
And then that's at 0. That's like as crushed as I can get it. And if you drive them harder, they won't crush harder, unfortunately. So you got to find like the right. Anyway.
I like the resonant that was happening, and I think it was the snare, or maybe it was a hi-hat sound, but it was like real. It just sounded.
Oh
really
yeah, that's like my favorite thing in terms
Yeah.
of like, you know, bit crushed like old school sounding stuff. Like
Yeah, that little ring.
I like snares that have like convincing sounding reverb tails, and
Yeah.
I know that they're bullshitting me. Like
Yeah.
I know it's like if I saw the waveform, I'd be like, come on, how does that sound like that? But they picked the right one, and it just sounds good.
I like when the reverb trail or the tail end of it has this like real just distorted like.
That's what I'm saying. Where it's literally nothing but the harmonic distortion of like just switching the oscillator off.
Yeah, that's so
like
cool.
It's literally just being really lazy about how you like I said, what you do to the waveform at the end.
Yeah,
it just turns into nothing but distortion.
That's
but
awesome.
If you shape the distortion the right way, it sounds like, I mean, reverb in a room is like that too. You know, up front you get the higher tones, and on the rear you get the low end. You know, you can kind of do the same thing if you just shape noise at the end of a snare. You can kind of
fudge it and make
fake,
you think
you
that
can
it's
fake a reverb for sure with noise.
That's all. Yeah, that's really nice.
So.
I was digging it, and when you started that crush sound, I was like, that's the sound that I needed.
Yeah, I love the sound of bit crushing.
Yeah, that was really nice.
I've been using it for a lot of stuff lately. That's like it's become my new like find a problem that needs it and see. Like when it comes to you, like, hey, maybe the bit crusher would solve that. It's like, just try it, you know, just see what happens. Which I actually did on some vocals the other day, and it was really funny. It was the exact thing I needed to layer some like kind of hard vocals. So it worked out well.
You maybe I shouldn't bring that up right now. I was gonna ask. Never mind. I'll ask you later. I don't know if
What?
I was just wondering about the work you've been doing with that group. I don't know how much I can ask or what you can tell me, but
well, actually, it's funny because I had told you a couple weeks ago that I wanted that we were considering moving some things around in the house, right?
Yeah.
And I had asked my roommate, like maybe 2-3 days ago, right? It was like Thursday or Friday kind of thing. I was like, hey, you know, are you still interested in doing that whole, you know, room swap and like do all that? And he was like, yeah, it's cool. You know, just got to figure out the right time to do it. And like, I'm not the type to be like, all right, well, dude, you know, I need to know the day and time or whatever. But he was just like, you know, I think I'm off work on Sunday or whatever. I probably get to it then. So we ended up literally, like, I figured no matter what we do, I'm going to have to pack up my stuff because I'm moving it out of the room it's in. So like, I don't need him to do anything for me to start getting work done. So I packed out most of the studio into the living room. And then he moved all his stuff from the room he was in into the room that used to be my studio. And then I've now set up all of that in that room. So that took me a couple of days to get like.
So you are in there now?
I am in there now, yeah. And it's working out. I actually really like it. The change feels really fresh.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I've walked in there and put fresh ears on some different things, and it's been good.
I like the one you mentioned on the way in.
Yeah. That was more of an accident. I saw the song in the folder, and for some reason I just immediately was thinking of the vocals, and I don't know why, but I just started hearing like a heavier song behind it somehow.
I like it.
And I went very far with it.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear it. It'd be sweet.
So it was something I did for me. I'm not like suggesting that was what the song was supposed to be. It's one of those personal quest things. Do you ever get that where you just hear something and you're like, I wonder what it would sound like
all
if
the time.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't feel guilty about that one bit.
No,
That's
so that's
part of it, you
I'm
know.
just saying I don't even know if I'm going to do the rest of it in that style, you know. There's just certain sections where I just knew. I was like, this is the part that goes there. I figured out this sweet guitar riff for the end part, and that's the part I have a recording of to show you.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear it.
But that one's interesting. It's interesting because the room is like this size, or maybe even. I'm not going to say it's smaller because I don't think it is. It's probably similar.
Okay.
But you know how my setup was with like my desk with my mix, stuff and my monitors and all that. Like that's a pretty big table surface. And I'm still away from the wall, so I'm still wasting some space. But
you mentioned that being away from the wall is ideal.
It is, and I'm not going to lie to you either. Like it's going to take a minute to get everything dialed back in exactly right, which kind of sucks because I have some things I need to get done right now. But that being said, having to like go into it with that critical kind of thought process of like, well, wait, like what does the room sound like right now? Like it's just good ear training again.
Yeah.
Like playing reference tracks and kind of like being in different places in the room and trying to ascertain what it is about the room that I'm still not liking or what I think I could maybe do about it. So we'll see. It's you can just tell it's a smaller room, that it has most small rooms have like some weird low end resonance because of the buildup of bass frequencies in the corners.
Yeah, in the corners.
And that's usually what bass traps are for. They're supposed to just absorb all that energy. So it was like really bad in there, and then I put back a lot of the acoustic treatment that I had in the other room, and it's better, but I don't think I can the room being smaller, it's just more energy, and so I need to recalibrate some of my processing, maybe do a little more treatment. I may actually hang some treatment in this room because I just have to, I'm thinking right behind where I sit is probably going to be a place I may have to like put a couple horizontal ones just to absorb that stuff behind me because we'll see. But I'm excited to be in a new space, and it's funny because it's like it's the same old gear I always used. It's the same, I'm running the same software, and like nothing has changed really, other than I moved what room it's in.
Yeah.
And I just like really want to be in that room lately.
That's
and
good.
I don't know why. So
that's good because, being in a space that lends to creativity and gets you fired up it's pivotal. You need that kind of space, to get work done, and just having that desire, ride that as long as you can.
Yeah, I just figured I'm just trying to not ignore it when it comes.
Right.
Because I was doing a lot of that. Cause it didn't feel like doing anything. But
I've been there.
I had FL Studio open yesterday, and I was making a bunch of I was finding these sweet synth patches. Like I wasn't making them, right? Because that wasn't the goal. But I was just finding ones that had like certain characteristics I liked. Like I found this one that had this weird like delay thing on it. And in Fruity Loops, most synths that have effects in them, if they have delays or things like that, they get tempo from the host. So if you want to set one to be like on time or something, or the patch may already be set up, say like quarter note or whatever, right? So, you hear that sound and then you're like, that's really cool. And then you're like, what if I played like, and then you start playing with different stuff, and then it's like it hits you and you're like, man, this sounds cool, but what if I shortened all the note lengths to be like the perfect thing and just like arped out the whole thing. And I ended up making like 30 some bars worth of just random art patterns.
Oh, cool.
That are like the kind of melodic things that I like.
Yeah.
And writing like just trapped out drums to put behind it.
Oh, right.
Like with samples.
Yeah.
And I was trying to play like the most appropriate stuff I could on guitar, but I realized that the stuff I was trying to play, I don't have the chops for at the moment. So
okay.
I was trying to mimic a certain sound.
It's like metal.
I don't know if I call it metal. I was just trying to go after that like Tim Henson, kind of sound like that.
Polyphia.
Just the super.
All I hear
super,
about is Tim Henson these days.
Just the super
Prodigy.
mid boosty kind of tone.
Yeah.
There's certain kind of licks that just sound really good with that, and I know how to play some of them. But dude, I'm sloppy. I haven't.
Yeah.
most of the music I've been playing has been like stuff that's like super verbed out with you on Sundays, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, getting everything set back up in the studio too. I did a bunch of tone chasing.
Cool.
Found some new guitar sounds that I'm like really, really into on my 7-string. So like, I don't know, maybe like it, like you said, ride the wave, right? And the wave, I don't feel like it's like one of those things where like you're on the shore and like you can't even see the wave yet, but like somebody was like yelling at you, like, "Yo, like get up off the beach," and you're like, I don't know, I don't see it.
Yeah.
Like, but all the right things are there, and it's definitely happening. I just got to figure out what I'm doing. So I have that project to finish up, and then maybe I'll just mess around with some stuff for a while and see what happens.
That's really good.
But
I love that when that moment hits and you're just feeling creative and you want to do it, and it seems to come a lot more infrequent for me as I get older, but I'm hoping that's just a phase.
I think it's kind of like everything else. It's seeming that the older I get, the more I have to just like decide I want to do stuff and like kind of stick with it.
Yeah.
Like it's harder to just like have things happen. You have to kind of like
I
nurture
miss
them
that.
a little bit.
Don't you kind of miss that
Oh
though?
yeah,
I mean,
heavily.
I miss that whole latch on to whatever's happening kind of mindset where it's like, oh, everything's going that direction. Let's see what's happening over there. Oh, no, everything's going there. Okay, let's see what's going on. Like, tend to be that way back in, it hasn't been that way in a while. Like, high school definitely was that way. But then you get older and you get responsible. You got a job, you got relationships, and then next thing you know, you have to consult, with whatever things you've filled up your life with.
Right.
You have to kind of make arrangements, and I'm thankful that I had as much freedom as I've had in my life, even though I'm thankful for my life currently. But sometimes I miss that. I miss that lack of having to make concession with your responsibilities.
Right.
And just because when you have no responsibilities and you're just your time is about creativity and focusing on that, like it just happens, I think, a lot more naturally. But it's not kind of a hard thing to chase though, the creative mindset, because if I find that if I'm not having any responsibilities and there's no framework, I tend to toil and not get anything done. I'm just lethargic, I think. So it's like, I don't know, it's weird. It's a balance of like structure and free time.
Yeah.
I just find it, I haven't found my perfect mixture.
I think part of coming back to it for me is going to involve this kind of realization I've had recently, which is like, hey, remember all these parts of like this process that produce good results? Yeah, like there's certain pieces of them that aren't really that enjoyable.
Yeah.
Because I stopped working on, there's a lot of stuff I've stopped working on.
When it gets the unenjoyable part.
Yeah, when it gets to that part, I'm just like, I'm not really going to do anything with this anyway. I don't care. Like, why would I spend the time? But it's like, you know what? I'm also the same guy that bitches about like, why don't I have a record, or why don't I? And it's like,
maybe
it's
that's
not
the same problem with me then.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we both suffer from that for sure. There's things that I think each one of us, here's what it is for me. Sometimes I complete a task and it's like a puzzle, right? You have to solve this puzzle. Okay, how am I going to make this sound good? And the thing I regret all the time, even though I'm pretty diligent with note taking, I don't take into account or consideration what I'm doing along the way sometimes. And in the moment of creating like these ideas, like I had a track I wrote maybe 2 years ago, and it was probably one of the best things I've written recorded, I should say. The structure was nice. The audio sounded good. I spent all day on getting those guitars right, and I don't think I've made mixes that sound that good. In terms of guitars, I think, but just the totality of this mix just fits so well together, and I've almost forgotten what it took to get there, to some degree. Or
was this a bit of material that I'm familiar with, or?
I don't think it's something I ever sent your way to work on. but
I was just wondering if there's anything I heard.
I don't know if you heard it.
Like for
I
more
can
for
tell you,
reference than anything. If it was like a mix you really liked, I was just curious because like I don't know. I work on your stuff enough that it's like
Yeah.
I'm. It interests me to know what.
I was proud of it. I can't remember. I think I may have shown it to you, but I don't think I gave you stems. I think I just said, this is what I did, and you're like, okay, yeah, that's good. I think it was one of the earlier validations I got, like, because I kind of, to some extent, appreciate the feedback, and when you say something sounds good, I do put some stock into that. In terms of like, if you're like, that's a quality recording, not that it's good or bad, but like that's a good recording. Like you can tell just from a matter of fact point of view.
Yeah, like it came out good.
Yeah.
You know? Like I don't know. It's kind of at the end of the day, that's all it ever comes down to. Though you know, like what was the end product?
Yeah. Well, it was one of those tracks where you're like that. I could tell you put thought into that recording process where it turned out the way it should. So I was like proud of that. But to get to that point again, I think it would require. Maybe I do remember the painstaking process of being in here by myself, trying to get it all to work. And at the time, it was entertaining because it's like I'd never achieved that before. But now that I have achieved it, it's almost like I gotten lazy about trying to get there again because it's like, well, I've done it before.
That's literally what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Where it's like I'm sitting here going like, I'm almost like resting on my thing, being like, like you know.
Why waste the time? I've already done it.
Well, not just that. It's like the whole idea of like you know the whole idea is you learn how to use a bunch of tools, right? And effectively all it is. And to be honest with you, like my whole goal when we started working on music together was I was hoping that like someone said it really well the other day, and that was like it's nice when you have some production or music related thing and you have someone who's at a similar point like in their career or their journey as you are to like kind of do it with,
bounce ideas off.
Yeah. And like at the time we started, you didn't have much like experience doing mixes. You were just doing like demos and that kind of thing, right? But I feel like it got to a point where it's like you learn the tools good enough where it's like it's now it's just a matter of opinion, right?
Right.
Like if I'm producing a record, whether it's for me or somebody else, like nobody cares about how it's engineered. Like my opinion is the thing that's important.
Right.
If I'm engineering it, all I care about is, you know, did I clip it on the way in? Is it clean? Like, do I like the recording? Because that's what we have to stick with, you know? So it's an interesting kind of thing when you get to a point where it's like you realize that there isn't really like a wrong or right way to solve the puzzle. It's just about like knowing which tool to grab for when you hear the problem.
Yeah.
Because like a mixer, and that's the thing, like, dude, I might make a mix that I think is killer, and there's going to be people who listen to it and go, I don't know, that's the direction I would have gone. And that's fine. But like that's the thing is that the reason I would get paid to do that work is because someone wants me to do what I like my opinion on what it should sound like.
Yeah. Of course.
It's not the time for me to like make big decisions about like arrangement or anything.
Yeah.
But in terms of sonics, like that's what my purpose is. And so what I'm saying is at the end of the day, you know, some of the fun goes away when like the discovery process of like seeing what all the different tools are that you could use to get the same like outcome or whatever. You start to have like a big enough tool bag that like having the tool bag in general isn't like the thing that's cool anymore. And like, you know what I mean? So at some point it's like I'm realizing that like it wouldn't matter. And this comes up all the time. It doesn't matter who like you listen to or watch. Like people will say, if the song sucks, you know, it doesn't matter how much mixing you put on. And that's what it is. So I think for me, I just more focus for me has to be put into just like I said, like trying stuff.
Yeah.
Recording things. They might suck, but like I'd rather do it than just be like, it wasn't worthy of putting any time into.
Yeah.
And just like imagine it and never go any farther than that.
And also like moving forward, I think is important too. That's a problem I have, just to piggyback off what you said, because like I'll write something that may have not been worth my time, but the experience might have been. And even though the song wasn't anything I'd be bragging about, I have this tendency of holding on to it and wanting to like rework it until I've like proven to myself it was worth doing. And sometimes I just need to like say, okay, that the knowledge I gained from doing that is important. and I need to put that on the shelf. I can doesn't mean I can't come back to it, but don't perseverate over it and try to make it into something to prove to yourself that you're good at what you do. Because for me, one of my main problems, I have a huge problem with like the way I'm perceived, and like with my music, I definitely, since it's like really close to my heart, if I don't put out something that's quality, I just feel like it's like someone's proof to say I've been wasting my time for 10 years. And I get scared that someone's going to do that, and then I might believe it because I care way too much what people think of me. So that's another reason why, as like a musician, that's actually funny enough, and I didn't mean to step into this, but that's kind of what Skylight Huddle's been for me to some extent. It's an opportunity for me to put stuff out there just constantly, so it's just there. It's almost like spray and pray in a way, like just something's got to stick, and also I can kind of watch and gauge my abilities changing and getting better, over time.
Maybe there's a part of it too that like gets you used to the idea of like it's just out.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
that's
Like,
it. Yeah, that's definitely a very concise way of saying it.
and I feel the same way about
I've been hiding, dude.
what we've been doing like with Sundays too. It's like it doesn't matter, like one way or another. I'm gonna put something up.
Yeah,
We're gonna play something. Like we'll
yeah.
make music.
It is a relief when we get done with like Sunday or we get done here. And I did one stream last week on my own. Audio was a little quiet.
Yeah, I was gonna say you were a little bit soft, but it was a good good little session.
Thank
though.
you. I I I know that the problem is mitigated today. In fact, it might be a little hot, but I'm
Hotter's better than not hot enough as it pertains to broadcast. Usually,
okay, and that's what I figured. I have a safeguard in the OBS, just limiting a little bit to make sure things might sound a little compressed on when we get real into it. But the Ash informed me that the microphones sound good, so the conversation sounds
I think
good.
they sound very good.
So anyway, putting stuff out there and just I tried that stream last week, and I gotta say it's really hard for me. It's really hard to just communicate when someone is not around. But I want to do it more because I feel that it's obtainable for me to be able to have a conversation into a camera and feel warm and inviting, and that's my goal.
I will tell you, as someone who's like streamed games and things like that, like never got to any notoriety or anything.
Yeah.
But you get to a point where you got people coming by, and it is easier when in a sense you're constantly being provided with prompts. Like,
yes.
Right? It's easier to like carry on a conversation when people are kind of talking to you. It is harder to do when it's just you.
Yeah.
Because you're like trying to basically explain your own like thought processes, and that's hard to do on the fly. Especially with music, because you're very focused on what you're doing.
There's a lot going on. I mean, for me sitting here, I gotta say, like, I don't have anyone running the cameras or anything. I'm really like in here. I'm really in charge of most of this working, with the exception of when you kind of controlling the two bus going into the DAW. But it is kind of a lot to focus on. So when I'm in here alone and it is all up to me, I'm focusing on the two bus. I'm focusing on all these things. For me to like shift gears for a moment and say, oh, let me tell you what I'm doing here with turning this frequency knob and what it's doing. I have the resonance up to a certain degree. It tends to get muddy, and I'm not 100% focused on what I'm saying. I think one thing I'd like to do, because I don't want it to be like, I don't want to lose the organic, creative, in the moment feel, but I may have like some broad concepts that I want to discuss and talk about that I can just sprinkle in throughout the thing. Like, it's like the topic I bring up on that given day, it might be not it might be defined, but when I talk about it or how I get into it might not be, so it still has that organic feel. Just kind of coming up with ways to keep my mind on the topic a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's, speaking of which, that's why I texted the group this morning and mentioned, that's kind of one of the things I want to start doing with this, as an addition to what we're doing now, is I want to start getting to know some local musicians around here. And,
I've got some ideas in mind surrounding that. I don't know if that's what you're trying to do with that. Is that what you're thinking, or
I'm thinking that, yeah, I'd like to eventually start to interview local musicians and just I want to have like 3 or 4 questions or something, for them. But I kind of want them to be with, okay, so here it is. It's 2 different things. On the first hand, it's for my close friends, the ones I see, at Vibe Unit all the time, or like you, or Nick or Wes. I want that to be more of an intimate conversation where we're discussing kind of our mindset in terms of like why we play music the way we do, why we like what we like. I want to get into that nitty gritty. But with like local musicians, I want it to be more broad. Like, what have you been up to with your band? Like, what have you been doing in the area? Like, what are some things that you want people to know about your band, things that you like, that kind of stuff.
right?
So it just depends on who the person is.
Sure.
But the thing I've been focused on the most on the front end is going to be more that intimate with you and Nick or Wes.
Right. That's good.
So
That's good. I'm excited to see where that goes.
and then also along with that, I may be able to do some more just solo stuff and just be able to stream. I want to do more of this as this fall comes into full swing. So
I was thinking of some of that stuff too that I talked about a while back, doing some streaming as well, like but from like the studio space.
yeah,
I'm working on things. So I was thinking about that even when I set things up. It's like
yeah,
what's gonna make sense,
it'd be cool just to put out a lot of content, and I think that'll get the buzz going on, some of the more bigger projects that involve bands and that kind of thing. When people get to know us, I think they'll come to realize that there's a like I don't want to sound too forward when I say this, but I think we're very hospitable and accommodating to what people need, and I guess I have this like huge desire to have someone score
Yeah,
and win,
of course.
and I just want to be a part of that process in any way I can, because I know anyone can play music, anyone can form a band, but I think the thing that people tend to lose out on is, okay, what do I do next? We have songs, we have ideas, we sound pretty good. We may have done a couple live shows, but like what do we do next? I mean, a couple guys might know how to use Logic, but at the same, and that's good, but you and I have been doing this for a while too, and I think if we can get a band to not have to focus on the recording process and just allow someone else to do that, that could be very beneficial.
Right. Part of it too is I just want to see what, even if it's not established folks, like one of my kind of pipe dream goals of the whole thing is just like see who ends up coming up out of the woodwork.
Yeah.
Because it's like I'll give you an example. There is a Michigan musicians group on Facebook with quite a few people in it, right? Which you'd think would be sweet, right? You're like, oh man, like yeah, there's this many people in Michigan that are like into the idea of like doing music. When you think about it, it's like we're a big state, man.
Yeah.
Like you spent some time up north. Like I mean, you can spend an entire day just getting somewhere else in Michigan.
Yeah.
So it's
true.
So my point is, it's already a little misleading because of that, and then on top of that, like you'd expect, the majority of postings and activity in these groups are in the more populous areas of the state, right? So like in order of population, I think it would go like, like Wayne County, like Detroit, metro area kind of thing, Warren, like any of those kind of areas out there. Then you'll see people like occasionally Grand Rapids.
Yep.
And then like Lansing or that kind of area. And that's where the majority of the activity is.
Yeah.
And I know that it's not because that's the only place there's people that play or want to be involved in something. I think and I'm not saying it's an incorrect view, but I think a lot of people have this idea of like, there's nothing going on around here. Like, we'll leave that to the guys in the cities, or whatever. And it's like, well, that might be, there may be some truth in that, but at the same time, there's nothing stopping us from doing whatever we want,
Right.
But a big key of that is like, it's even more important than when you have small communities to have ways to find and connect with other people that maybe you have something in common and want to work on something.
Yeah.
So like for me, it's like regardless of whether I'm trying to like make a record or whatever, just meeting more people that have similar interests and tastes and maybe have a similar direction they're trying to head. Like that's the goal, right? Like
right.
you know when and not just for me, I mean, but like for others, it's like, you might run into somebody that you didn't even know, and you find out, oh my God, like you live a half a mile from me, and we're making the same kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like maybe we should hook up and work on something.
That's ideal.
Or just having other people that are opinions, hey, I got this new song I'm working on. Like, what do you think about that? Or whatever. It's something that you don't just find super easily. At least that's been my experience.
Right.
So I'd like to see just that encouraged, and if I can be any part of being that encouragement or providing that, I'm all in. I want to do it.
Yeah, same. And there's a lot of opportunity for that with what we're doing. So I just really encourage, I guess with that, I encourage anyone who's listening, like if you have any suggestions or if you want to participate in this in some way, like you can email me at skylighthuddle@gmail.com, and then yours is, say it again.
Ours is media@vibeunit.com.
Okay, media@vibeunit.com. And email and let us know a little bit about you and talk to us, some things that you, I mean, if you know us personally, it still would be good to message us through those means and just let us know some of the things you're seeing. And if you're a musician, we're curious to know, like what do you need? Like how can people facilitate what you're trying to achieve? And if you're not from around where we are, if you don't know us personally, and maybe you have something that, maybe you know what we're trying to do, maybe you have something like that, in your area, like a place where musicians can get together and help each other achieve their goals. Let us know what that's like, because, that could be really helpful for us to just learn about and see what the kind of communities are out there. So, yeah. So with that, you got anything else? I feel good
Not
about
really.
that. I feel
think,
like we jammed well. And
yeah, I think we have a pretty standard weekend coming up. I'm going to a show this weekend.
Oh, yeah?
Yep. Really excited, actually.
Do you want to name drop?
I will name drop. It's Silent Planet. I've been trying to.
Them.
Oh man, I've been trying to see this band for years now. At this point,
okay,
they're probably my favorite, like, current metal act.
Okay,
and they are playing. They're supporting Motionless in White at the Intersection.
Oh,
on Friday night.
Wow.
So
I love that place. That's a cool venue.
It's gonna be really lit.
It's large and oh man.
It usually sounds good too.
Yeah.
I'm told that they play just an absolutely killer show. So I mean Garrett's the best in the business is in terms of writing and vocals at this point.
That's cool.
As far as I'm concerned. So it's like a I can't miss kind of show.
And shows are back in swing, it sounds like. Is it everything?
Dare I say maybe they shouldn't be, but I'm just going to do the right thing, and go and try to keep away from people as much as possible.
Right.
As much as you can. I assume they're probably operating under lower cap, though, too. But I really don't, to be honest. No, I can't speculate about the venue. But the as far as I know, the show's still on, so That's going to be Friday night.
Yeah, and it'd be cool to get a follow-up on that, too, if you want to talk about it, some of the things you liked about the show, if you want in the future episode.
all you're going to get from me is just, like, drooling and being like, why is no one playing metal music in my town?
Oh, man. That'd be, yeah.
So, yeah, I guess my desperate plea, if anybody wants to do metal or hardcore, I'm trying to do it.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, everyone. Trying to use the word folks more. I think that's a little more inviting and accommodating to all walks of life. Appreciate you for liking and subscribing to the channel. Try to build us up. And, yeah, as I mentioned before, just let us know some things about you. If you're a musician, give us some tips. Talk about what we did today. Send us some questions so we have things to do on this stream. It's fun to interact with people. So, all right, everyone, have a good day.
Sweet.